Shalom and welcome back to the Rashi Nash. I'm Pastor Matt.
I'm Kara.
It's nice to have you back in our home, and we want to welcome you wherever you're watching from in the world. We are in Parashat Behar this week, and we have an interesting warning to us in verse 17 of our Torah portion, and it's similar to something that happens in a few verses above. It says, "And you shall not wrong one man his fellow, and you shall fear your God, for I am the Lord your God." Now, here's what Rashi says. Here, as opposed to the expression in verse 14 above, Scripture is warning against wronging verbally, namely, that one must not provoke his fellow, nor may one offer advice to him that is unsound for him, but according to the mode of life or the benefit of the advisor. And people might have the excuse, well, who can tell whether I had evil intentions when I talked to my fellow in an insulting manner? But this is why the verse says, "And you shall fear God, I am the Lord your God," because he is the one who knows all thoughts. So here's something interesting to us. We work with young people, youth at our church, and sometimes we see young people really being insulting to one another. And it really is different today than it was when we were kids. When our parents, if we told them that someone was insulting us or being mean to us or provoking us, it was easy for our parents to tell us, well, just ignore them. Just stay away from that person. But it's different in this day and age, especially with the advent of social media, because something that happens digitally online lasts forever, and it follows you for the rest of your life. And so this idea of being insulting to people is different than when we were kids. So that's something that I'd like us to think about for a moment. We can't just tell kids to ignore it anymore. But then another thing that I would like to address. Sometimes young people, and I have to admit, even sometimes adults, will make an insulting comment, sometimes to make themselves laugh or to amuse themselves at the expense of someone else. And if the person is hurt or offended or provoked by it, the excuse will be, oh, well, I didn't mean it like that. I was just joking, or you're taking it the wrong way. But that excuse, it doesn't work in this case, because this is why it says, "You shall fear God, for I am the Lord your God," because he is the one that knows all of our thoughts, knows everything that's in our heart. So it's not just the words that we say, it's the intention with which those words are said. When I was growing up, it seemed to me that boys were really bad about this. Boys tended to be really insulting to one another. It was almost a game to try to see how much we could insult one another. And I know that that still happens today. But it seems that even young ladies these days, it seems like they really like to insult each other as well. You know, there's this expression in English that, you know, girls are made of sugar and spice and everything nice. You know, I didn't think that girls did these types of things, but you were a teacher for several years and you saw this with adolescents and with teenagers about some of the cutting words that they could say to one another. You witnessed this. Do you think that it is worse today, or at least seems worse today than it does when we were younger?
I do. And I think, like you said, because of technology, it's easier. I don't know if we've said this before in videos, but it's easier to be able to put something out there digitally and not have to say something to someone's face. So I think it's even harder in this day and age to avoid some of it. But it is unfortunate. It's gotten, I feel like, longer lasting, I think, than usual. It used to be a certain grade level, or you kind of grow out of it, but now it seems like for some people it's something that they struggle with even into adulthood. Yeah.
It's interesting that you bring up the idea of saying something to someone's face. A lot of people in the younger generations today, especially in Generation Z, have a hard time speaking with people face to face, looking them in the eye when they speak. These types of social interactions aren't really practiced well nowadays because so much is behind a screen. in our phones. And I know that that is true, that there are kids that will say things to one another with the use of their fingers and thumbs on a keyboard that they would never dare say to the face of someone. There have even been court cases recently where people have said terrible things about even wishing that someone they didn't like would harm themselves, God forbid. And some kids have even been found liable or found guilty for provoking someone into harming themselves. So words are so important. And we can't use the excuse, oh, I'm going to say a cutting remark, and then if it bothers the person, we just say, oh, I was just joking. It's not good enough. Our words have to have the right intention behind them, and we have to remember that the Lord knows that intention. It's not just young people. We happen to see it with young people, but it happens with adults as well. If someone at your work is doing this, or God forbid, if you are doing this at your work to possibly make yourself look better than someone else for a promotion, or to look better in the boss's eyes by belittling someone or talking bad about someone, this is not kosher. This isn't the way that we should be living. So as far as Parashat Behar goes this week, let's be more about saying positive things. Let's be more about building people up rather than trying to tear them down, especially if we're tearing them down to make ourselves feel better. Yeah. Let's be examples to our children and our grandchildren, the young people that are around us, because they are watching and they will behave in the way that they see us behaving. And they will think that the way we behave, since we're the adult, they'll think that it's okay because we do it. And so then they will want to do it as well. Be very careful with your words, but also be careful with the intention behind them, because we have a God in heaven that knows what we really mean when we say those things. So let this be a lesson to you and an inspiration to you this week. We are praying for you no matter where you are in the world, and we are just asking the Lord to bless you with words that build up rather than tear down. We wish you shalom and kol tuv.